is up, everybody? Today we are back with another episode, and today we're going to be continuing on in our MonsterFish series. Today will be episode 2, and we're going to be talking about the second MonsterFish that I got since I started buying MonsterFish, and that is the Pacu. There are several different kinds of Pacu. The main two kinds of Pacu that get really big are the black Pacu and the red belly Pacu. The one I'm going to be talking to you about is the red belly Pacu. So I'm going to be using some old footage I had, as well as some of the current footage of them in the pool pond at the moment. So I got them probably at the end of January at about 2 inches long. They are around 10 to 14 centimeters long, so 2 inches around 5 centimeters. Yes, they've easily doubled in size in the last 2-3 months. And that's a generalization. I'm not actually sure how big they are at the moment. I'm trying to just eyeball it based off my arowana. In fact, in some of the footage I'm about to show you, you're going to see that the Pacu are smaller than the arowana, but now in the pool pond, they are much larger than the arowana is. It's crazy how quickly they grow, and for people who know about arowanas are a fast-growing fish. So these guys are something else. Now, if anybody's thinking of getting a Pacu, there are a couple of things you'd want to know. First of all, Pacu get really big really fast. That's the biggest thing that you're going to realize, is that you cannot keep them in small tanks for long. In fact, keeping them in tanks is more of a difficult thing because they're so big and they're so powerful that they can easily break the glass. They are known as tank busters. So, good idea is to keep it in a really big aquarium, or you keep it in a pool pond, or a pond in general. They can get anywhere from 2 to 3 feet long, which isn't super long when you compare it to other monster fish you can get. You can get monster fish like the arowana, which gets like 4 foot, red tail catfish, which can get up to 6 foot, arapaima, 9-10 feet. Arapaima. Alligator guard can get up to 10 feet. Arapaima can get larger than that. But on top of getting really long, they get really wide. They have quite a decent amount of height to them. It's kind of like you buy a ball, and if it gets 3 feet long, it's probably going to be 3 feet wide on top of that. So they get very tall and they take up a lot of space. Other than them growing really big, they are very big eaters. Their diet consists of pretty much anything. What they certainly need is vegetables. So you can get pellets that have spirulina in them, algae wafers. As long as they're getting some sort of vegetable in their diet is essential. So, grapes, even fruit and nuts, grapes, any sort of nuts you want to give them, lettuce, spinach, peas, broccoli. They'll eat pretty much anything. Prawns, fish, pellets of all sorts. I think I've already said that. But yeah, these fish will eat anything, and they will eat a lot of it. So you have to make sure that you feed the tank appropriately. If you do keep them with other fish, just make sure that the other fish are getting getting enough food, because these Pacu will eat a lot of food. Another thing about getting Pacu is they tend to do better in a group. So I have 6 Pacu at the moment, and that, if I keep all 6, I might donate some, I may donate 2 and keep 4. But once they get full grown, that's going to be a lot of fish, and they'll need a lot of space. They're going to poop a hell of a lot, so they're going to need a very heavy filtration system to be able to deal with their bioload. But other than the requirements for tank size and filtration, they aren't a very difficult fish to look after. Once they get bigger, they tend to chill out. When they're younger, they tend to dart around the tank and spook other fish. And when they're mid-size as well, they can still be quite skittish, which is when they're more likely to break a tank. But when they get to the larger sizes, they don't tend to be as active. They tend to be a bit more chilled out and laid back. So they won't really pick on any other fish either. So you can keep them with a lot of different fish, and their water parameters vary. They're very hardy fish. Temperature, again, keep them in like 23 to 27 degrees Celsius. They tend to do really well there. Yeah, overall they're a really easy fish to look after. It's just their size. They get absolutely massive. But people love them because they have that red belly that makes them look like a piranha. In fact, they are related to the red belly piranha, but instead of having a heavy meat requirement, they eat almost anything. They are omnivorous, but they do tend to eat a lot of plants. So, and they get massive. Those are the two main differences. But yeah, I think Pacu are an interesting fish to have. They school, and it's a really amazing thing just to watch them school, like schooling fishes you have in like tetras, cardinal tetras, even like reef fish, you know, that tend to school. You get that effect, but you get them from a monster fish. Although when they do get bigger, they tend to be more antisocial and more individual. So you can then split them up if you don't have enough, a big enough tank for all of them to fit in. You can even then, you know, donate yours or sell them or whatever you want to do. But that is just a warning. If you are thinking of getting a Pacu, just be warned that they have very expensive requirements in the sense that they need a big tank and they need a big filter, and neither of those are cheap. I'm planning on eventually getting a 700-gallon tank, which would be about 8 feet long and 5 feet deep and around 2-3 feet tall. That is what I'm hoping to put them in for a few years, but we'll see. I mean, they're getting massive. They're gonna go from the pool pond, they're gonna go into a 180-gallon tank in a couple of months. Once this whole COVID thing ends, I can get my 180-gallon tank. We'll go in there for a bit. I'll keep them monitored. If they get too big, they'll have to go back into the pool pond because there's just more swimming room for them. Or they might be split up at that time. We don't know yet. But they're a super awesome fish. In fact, let's go feed them. You'll see how cool they are to have. So here we have some algae wafers. And we also have some floating cichlid pellets. They'll eat both. I do appreciate it is harder to see. So there is my larger arowana swimming around, and you can see that the Pacu are massive compared to that guy. And if I can find my old arowana, this is my original arowana that I first got. If you compare him to the Pacu, I think most of the Pacu are now bigger than he is. So they've put on a lot of size in not a long period of time. It's been about 3 months, and they're absolutely ginormous. So let me get some food and we'll feed them. Alright, so we're about to throw this in. As you can see, they're very fast fish. It's very hard to like keep an eye on them, and they spook quite easily still at this size. So I'd say they're about 4 or 5 inches long at the moment. About 4 inches. If you have 4-inch fish darting around a small tank, it is pretty easy to understand how they can break these tanks. And you know, if they get to up to a foot long, 12 inches, 3 times this size, and they're still doing this terms of skittish darting around the tank, you can understand how these powerful fish break through their tanks. That's also another thing. These fish can get quite heavy as well, so ideally you want to move them into their final home as early on as possible, because they can get quite heavy, and depending on how strong you are, it can be quite a pain to try and lift these out of a tank and put them into another tank, especially with the size of your tank. If they're fairly tall, it can be quite difficult to try and lift it over. But yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will be doing a further update on them once they get a bit bigger, and eventually when I put them into a larger tank. Hopefully, when this coronavirus thing is all over, I can finally get that tank and I can move them in, because at the moment you can't really see them, and I don't really film them as much because it is difficult trying to get like the angle of the camera and then putting it under the water and then leaving it there, because they get spooked for a bit, so I have to leave the room, and it's not the easiest thing to film. So hopefully when I get the bigger tank, we'll be able to move most of these fish out of here keep this until they get too big for the tank and move them back in, because then they'll have plenty of swimming room. It's about 5 foot by 5 foot, so it's got more surface area. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a good time and please stay safe. Peace out.